Here's a Starion turbo that I did an upgrade for. What I converted this to was an EVO 316G compressor wheel, which is 48.3 millimeter by 68 millimeter, and that's just the cast wheel. So this was kind of more of a budget build, but this turbo is still good for 350 to at most 400 horsepower, but most people don't do that. Most people make around 350 horsepower with this. For the turbine side, I did a TU5H9 blade just so I could clean up the turbine housing and get all the warping out of it. It was pretty pitted up, so I was just able to clean that up and make it like new again. Then we also removed this plate, and 2 bolts broke, so we had to drill those out and then replace them. And then we installed the gasket and added some copper gasket material to help it seal. Then I ported the inlet to it because there was one crack there, so I ported that out of it and then just smoothed it down to keep it from cracking even more. When we rebuild these, we blast the compressor housings and then paint them so it prevents corrosion. And then I also polish the inside of the inlets after I do my machine work, and I polish the outside. We plug up the wastegate actuator and blast it and paint it, and we test it to make sure the diaphragm's working properly like it's supposed to. And then we also take the turbine housing and we blast it up, remove all the rust, and paint over that to prevent any more rust from coming to the turbine housing. And then we also do the same with the bearing housing. After all the blasting's done, everything gets pressure washed to make sure it's extremely clean. On this one, I ported the turbine housing. I usually don't do much porting anymore. It just kind of takes too much time. But anyway, so for this one I did port it, but I did that because there were a couple cracks there, so I ported those out so those were completely removed. The bearing housing, compressor housing, and turbine housing all had to be machined for this build. If you want to see more turbo upgrade options like this, you can watch my video called Starion Turbo Upgrade Options.